Victor Wembanyama versus Scoot Henderson was actually better than people thought, but the real fireworks happened off the court. Wemby said something that rightfully pissed off Scoot. I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, English isn't his first language, or it wasn't that bad. Yeah, right. When you hear everything Victor said, it was on purpose. And I feel bad for Scoot Henderson. In any other draft, he would be the #1 pick. In high school, he averaged 32 points and 6 assists, had nothing left to prove, so he wanted to turn pro at 17 years old. The G League Ignite would give him $1 million contract, but he would need a high school diploma. So he doubled his class load as a junior, graduated early with a 3.5 GPA. At 17, he dropped 31 points in his second ever pro game, beating Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody in the G League. People were obviously asking, is Scoot Henderson the best NBA draft prospect in the world? But that didn't last long, because the world really started to notice Wembanyama. He demolished players in the Under-19 World Cup, including Chet Holmgren. 22 points and 8 blocks, a perfect 9 for 9 from the free throw line. Look, I think the word unicorn gets thrown around way too much these days, but it was invented for a guy like this. An anonymous NBA GM just said, because of Victor, we'll have a race to the bottom like we've never seen. Even with these adjusted draft odds to discourage tanking, teams are going to lose as much as possible for a chance at Victor Wembanyama. So everyone was really excited to see them play each other. About 200 scouts in the building. The G League president Sharif Abdul-Rahim thought it would be fun to see the top 2 prospects play. He got Victor's French team to Las Vegas for 2 preseason games. Wembanyama said it was the biggest game of his life. And after that slow start we talked about, people were saying, hey, Scoot's a great prospect, but he's no Victor. Victor is still #1 easily. And that's not a hot take, but what Victor said off the court was unexpected. Scoot's a really great player. If I was never born, I think he would deserve the top spot. Damn! The cockiness is at level 10. Just assuming he's going #1, and really there's nothing Scoot can do about that. Might as well just give up your little dream. It's Victor's birthright. And look, I know some people actually love that quote. They think it's confidence, and look, it's probably true, right? But think about if you're Scoot Henderson. Oh, you're talented and all, but you're not me. He's basically calling him a bitch. Normally guys have respect for their peers. Maybe I'm old school. But how did Scoot react? He didn't. He was silent on social media because he doesn't have social media. Dude is like Kawhi when it comes to Twitter and IG, which is super rare for an 18-year-old. He had to hear it from his friend just before he was supposed to go and meet Victor. They went into a room to, meet and talk, but Scoot was having none of that. He smiled for the camera, of course. They exchanged jerseys, but he had to do that. The rest of the time, Scoot didn't even look at Victor. He refused to shake his hand. Scoot said he believes he can still be the #1 pick, and he showed that during the game. But Wemby just has something that you can't learn. Height and length, plus all the skill. But things don't always go as projected. Think about Zion Williamson versus Ja Morant. Zion, 10 times more hype, but 2 years later, not a hot take to say that Ja should have gone #1. Victor isn't totally flawless. I mean, people his height, that skinny, or injury prone. Chet Holmgren, gonna miss his entire first year, but Victor is still gonna be the #1 pick. So this rivalry is gonna spill into the NBA. My prediction is that all the players are going to be on Team Scoot in this rivalry. And as crappy as this sounds, that's always how it goes for foreign-born players. Before Scoot even got to the G League, he was being hyped up by NBA stars. Sports Illustrated said this when he was on their cover at 17 years old. Best 17-year-old I've ever seen, says Celtics star Jaylen Brown. A generational player, says former NBA sharpshooter Chuck Person. Shaquille O'Neal sends regular texts of encouragement. Russell Westbrook has reached out. Meanwhile, have you seen how ice cold the NBA brotherhood can be for European players, no matter how good they are. James Harden said Giannis is not skilled. Giannis admits he would rather just keep to himself because he's not a part of that NBA boys club. Nikola Jokic is the most disrespected MVP of all time. Nick Wright saying Jokic would be the worst MVP we've had in 35 years. And then Jokic goes and wins back-to-back. Why was Luka not the #1 pick with tons of evidence that he was a generational player? Because he's European. That was literally the quote-unquote best argument against him at the time. But even though all that is unfair for Wembanyama, he does actually have a legit red flag to worry about. He is really a cocky dude. His comment on Scoot was not lost in translation. Victor just thinks that he is that great. I'm always trying to be original. Something one of one. I don't know where it comes from. I think I was born with it. I'm always trying to be original. Unique, that's the word. Aren't you special? I was built for this, I guess. All of what happens to me, I expected for myself. So it's just a checklist of expectations. I'm not surprised at what's happening to me. This is how I manage it, and I think I manage it well. You sure do. People want to compare him to Tim Duncan for some reason. Duncan would never talk about himself like that. A super humble guy on and off the court. But maybe this is lost in translation on me. One of the stereotypes of French people is that they're rude, but in reality, they're just really direct. They just don't waste time on BS. In some cultures, that would be considered rude. Maybe in America, we just kind of like people to talk in a more humble way because it's culturally acceptable, but this is just how people talk where Victor is from. So maybe I need to be more open-minded. Dude actually thinks he's the best in the world, so he thinks, well, why not just say that? So I am not, no matter what he says, going to judge the kid yet, especially at 18 years old. But rivalries like this are what make the NBA the best league in the world. Zion versus Ja, Michael Jordan versus Hakeem Olajuwon in the 1984 draft, Luka versus Trae Young. So even if Scoot does hate Victor Wembanyama, it's pretty cool. We're already seeing the next big rivalry before the draft even happens. Guys, hit the join button right below this video to be an AM Hoops channel member because you'll get in our Discord. We're chatting NBA all season long. The preseason's going on. I'm in there. We're talking about NBA news and reacting to games all the time. And we only have a few spots left for our NBA Fantasy League that we do every year, only for members. But if you join the channel and then get in the Discord, I will send you the link to get one of our last fantasy spots. Speaking of old drafts, James Wiseman is back. The thing that I was most worried about him was his confidence after he was benched last year. Dude, he has his confidence back, but the way he did it, nobody is talking about, and I've never seen an NBA player do this before. Check it out.